back, everyone, to the After Scales podcast presented by DJD Graphics, episode 60. I'm Jacob Dove of Phenom Motorsports, along with Shaun Blight of Canadian Racing Tours. And today we're reporting down here in sunny Florida, here at my house, and Shaun's visiting down from Canada. And we have Mariah Ede joining us out of Fresno, California, driver of the number 14 sprint car, and you can usually find her in the Keith Hughes Motorsports number 71 midget. Mariah, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here.
So you spent a lot of time running your sprint car last year, but you did make a start at the Chili Bowl Nationals. Shaun was there to see you in person race. Just tell us about that experience, because it's a really awesome event.
Yeah, going to the Chili Bowl is just like a one-in-a-lifetime experience for any driver. I know all the young drivers that I always talk to, they always dream about going to the Chili Bowl. And just being able to race at the Chili Bowl with Keith Kunz of all people is just an amazing experience. The crew and all the people around the pit are just amazing people, and they just push you to do your best. And, going to the Chili Bowl is my favorite time of year.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mariah, I spent a lot of time kind of wandering around the Keith Kunz area. You had drivers from kind of all different backgrounds, a Canadian like Matt Williamson, who's got a ton of experience but never been in a midget before. And then you've got people that run midgets all the time. Was there any drivers or crew members or anything that you were kind of leaning on in that massive organization to kind of help you out throughout the week?
Yeah, of course you lean on people like Buddy Kofoid and Christopher Bell, but especially the crew guys like Chuck Gurney. He has a lot of racing experience. Keith, I've known him for so many years, and, just talking to him, he knows a lot about race cars, and he knows what to look for on the track, and just talking to him and communicating with people in the pit is just so important.
And Mariah, you've been running the sprint car a lot lately, especially last year out on the West Coast. Do you think with your dad being a former racer and really helping you with your racing career, influence you into really stepping it up, moving up from the midget and now running the wing sprint more often?
Yeah, I honestly thought that I was going to be racing the midget a lot more than I did in the past years. But, I just fell in love with the sprint car, and just being able to race closer to home with my family being around, and, Hanford being 45 minutes away, Tulare being 45 minutes away, and just having my dad work on the car. And it's just honestly a family bonding experience. And I honestly enjoy that more than being on a plane every single weekend, and just being close to home is just where I like it best.
And for those of us that we're on the East Coast, we don't get to see you race as much as we would like. For people who don't get to see you race a whole lot, tell us about your background in racing and your family's background in racing.
Okay, so this is a lore pretty much. So my great-grandpa Fred was a crew chief for Jeff Gordon, Kenny Irwin, Ryan Newman, and my grandfather also helped work on the cars, not as much as my great-grandfather, but he did too. And then my dad was always around for everything for that. And they just grew up racing all the time, every weekend. And when my great-grandfather died, my dad kind of stepped away from racing a little bit. So growing up, I was never at the racetrack like most kids were growing up. Until I was 10, I went to go watch Ryan Robinson run a sprint car, and that's when I just fell in love with it and just wanted to start it, and just fell in love with the sport.
Yeah, Mariah, how cool is it, going to all these different racetracks with your dad, father and daughter duo. It's very unique to have that type of experience, being family-oriented and making your racing dreams kind of come true.
Yeah, me and my dad are like two peas in a pod. My mom gets mad at us all the time because we're just like the same person. And, any female race car driver will tell you your dad is the person you look up to the most in racing, and they'll push you. And sometimes they'll break you down, but they want the best for you. And my dad's always been there to push me, and he's done so many things for me to just be able to get into a car and just push me to be my best. And I can't thank him enough for that.
So you're coming along in an era where, me personally, I've never seen so many talented young female racers coming along at once, yourself included. You sold out, I think, of merch at the Chili Bowl. I went looking for some shirts, and your rack was empty. So, what does it mean to you to see? I mean, you're young yourself, but to see young girls coming up to you, and young guys too that look up to you.
It's amazing. It's just an amazing experience to have young girls look up to me. I never thought that I would be in a position to where some little girl would come up to me and be like, I want to be just like you when I get older, and I want to race just like you. And it's just an experience that I can't even just explain, that little girls and little boys can like look up to me and say, I want to be exactly where she is. And it's just something I'm so grateful for.
And I know Sean kind of mentioned about your merchandise, and I saw online how cool your merchandise was for Chili Bowl this year. So anybody that's watching our episode can go up to the top corner up here and scan the QR code. That'll take you to Maria's merchandise. Go check it out. We like to promote all the drivers' merchandise on our show, so make sure to support her. But Mariah, I'm curious to see what goals you have for 2025, because you spend a lot of time on the West Coast, but I feel like a lot of West Coasters usually have to, branch out, go race in the Midwest, go race on the East Coast to really, check off their boxes for their goals for the year.
Yeah, so last year I didn't get to run a full season because of my back injury. So I haven't really raced a full season of just sprint car racing every single weekend. So 2025 is going to be full of weekends being away racing with High Limit, World of Outlaws, and just High Limit all over basically. So we're going to try to hit those races that are kind of far but mostly close to home and try to get through a whole season this year. And then we're going to think about branching out, going to Florida, going out to Oklahoma, and going all those places. So we're going to stay close to home kind of this year, but a full season.
So do you have kind of a ballpark amount of races that you guys are aiming to hit up?
All of them. I don't even know how many that is, but me and my dad were talking about it last year, and we decided that we wanted to race as much as we can, get enough seat time as I can. And seat time is so important, especially when you're just starting in a sprint car with all these high limit guys. So it's really important to just get enough seat time.
And outside of the race car, obviously you're young and you're in college, trying to get a higher education. How can you balance, schoolwork and outside of, racing life, and balancing it, being at the track, being with your dad, and making sure the car is all prepped and ready to go, and traveling, and still doing, classes?
Yeah, so this is my second semester at college. I'm a freshman at Fresno State. And it was kind of difficult first semester because not a lot of the professors get what racing is. And they're like, you need to be in class, you need to do this, you need to do that. But I send out an email every year before classes start and say, hey, I'm a race car driver. Like, academics are super important to me, but if I'm going to choose, racing is going to be it. So I will get all my work done. I will get the best grade in the class, but just know that I will choose racing every single time. So it's just, I get good grades and I try to do my best with the homework and being at the shop every week. And it's just a balance of what needs to be done. And there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make with being in school still, because all throughout high school, I was still in public school. And I know a lot of the racers now are online. And it was super important to me to stay in school, make those connections with other people in town. And I missed a lot of football games. I missed a lot of hangouts with my friends, but it's something that's with racing, and I don't regret a single bit of it.
So what are you taking, Mariah, and what are you hoping to do with it?
I am an ag business major, so my family's all in agriculture. So I didn't want a super hard major because you can't do super hard major and do a bunch of homework and be gone at the same time for racing. And my family, we have citrus, so ag business is something that's always been around me and something that I wanted to learn more about. So, racing is just what happens. And if that doesn't work out for me in the long run, then I have something to turn back on.
And Mariah, I feel like you're in this group of young, talented female racers. You've been teammates with a lot of them at Keith Coons Motorsports, Taylor Reimer, Kaylee Bryson, just to name a few. Do you feel like there's this new wave, like girls like Jade Avedizian and all those are kind of making a new statement, in the racing world that, hey, just because we're female doesn't mean, we're any less. We can compete with the guys. You can see like Kaylee Bryson making the Chili Bowl a couple years ago, really making some noise and saying like, hey, I can still hang with the guys.
Yeah, I try to look at it is once I put my helmet on, nobody knows if I'm a boy or I'm a girl. It doesn't matter if we're females on the racetrack or males on the racetrack. We're all doing the same thing. We're all putting in the same amount of work. And I know a lot of people online think of it as, oh, it's a girl in a race car. She gets more opportunities than the rest. But if you're not good, you're not going to go anywhere, no matter what, if you're a boy or if you're a girl. So I know all these girls that I like, Holly Holland, Kaylee Bryson that I talked to, they paved the way for me and Jade and all these younger girls coming up. So it's honestly can't thank them enough for just showing what girls can do and making a path for us.
And do you find we're at a point, Mariah, and I assume we still have a ways to go, but do you find we're at a point where when you get to the track, they're really, you're not singled out, you're not kind of separated? Do you feel like if you talk to any older women racers, do you feel like we're in a better spot in terms of just kind of equality in racing?
I think so. I think we're getting there. I know back then you'd see a girl in a race suit and everyone would be shocked, but now I think it's more common. And I don't really get a lot of stares as much as I did when I was younger, but you still get those people that point you out and they'll always talk about, oh, she's a female race car driver. She belongs in the kitchen or something like that. I still think we have a little bit to go in that sort of way, but it's definitely more common. And like if I go to the outlaw kart track, I'll see young girls left and right. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, there's so many more girls. Like I used to be like one of 3. Now there's at least 20 girls at the outlaw kart track. So it's definitely more common, and I'm really glad to see that.
So looking forward in your racing future, what would you say is like one major goal that you might have set for yourself? It could be a short-term goal or a long-term goal, but something that you really want to check off your box in your racing career.
I definitely want any racer, and we want more wins. My dad's always put me in a situation where once I get good in one area of racing, I get pushed up to the next. If I in outlaw karts, I won one race in 250. He immediately moved me up to 500. So I don't stay in one place for so long to get too good at it because my dad wants me to push me and he wants me to be the worst so I can become the best. So I definitely want sprint car wins this season, and I think we're going to be able to do it.
All right, so I want to circle back to the Chili Bowl for just a second because it was my first time going this year, and I had an absolute blast. When you're not racing at the Chili Bowl, are you taking in the event? I was shooting photography for some of the A mains, but I had to make sure like this is my first time. I got to go up sit with the top row rowdies for a couple of nights and experience that. Are you the same way?
I definitely am. I was there every single day. Chili Bowl flu is a real thing.
It sure is.
I get it every single year. So I try not to stay there all day and just breathe in the fumes and have the potential of getting sick. So I try to stay there as much as I can, but not too late. Like I'll go home to the hotel maybe a little bit before the A main and just watch it on TV because those fumes in there get really bad. And it's the worst thing to be sick at the Chili Bowl. And, I want my performance to be at the best. I want my health to be at the best. So I take in as much as I can, but, my health comes first.
And even though I wasn't at the Chili Bowl in person, Mariah, I could tell, watching on Flow Racing every single night, every single day of the week, how popular you were, seeing people on the TV wearing your T-shirts and hoodies. So Sean's going to bring up some T-shirt and hoodie designs that you had available, and just talk about the merchandise, who does it for you, and who inspires the designs.
I really have to thank my mom for this one. She is definitely the brains behind all of the designs. She talks to the guys that design it and the guys that, just put it all together. R&R does it for me. And, my mom, they know not to send it to me or my dad. They know to send it straight to my mom. And my mom deals with that because she's she's into the fashion. She's into what looks good and what will sell. And, she likes to bring out the cool colors. And, yeah, that's a retro shirt that came out. Yeah, those are awesome. I love when people wear those around. It just brings back my grandpa and all that stuff. But, yeah, definitely my mom is the brains behind all the designs. And, it turns out great every single time. So there's no reason for me or my dad to do it.
Yeah, and you've also got your lifestyle brand that's available on your website too. What are your hopes for that?
I just selling T-shirts for any racer is just helping money get back into your sport, into your lifestyle. So just selling shirts and just being able to see somebody like a little kid with your shirt on is just the most amazing feeling, to be like, oh, they bought it because they know who I am. And it's just amazing to have people just support me in the shirts. And I just can't thank all the people that support me through that.
And I feel like every time we have a West Coast racer on our podcast, I like to ask them this question about the competition, because out in California, it's one of the toughest places to race. With the racetracks, they're very unique, and the competition is really. I mean, you look at the top of the level of Kyle Larson, Carson Macedo, Cole Macedo, Rico Abreu, Brad Sweet. You could go on and on. Name all these top guys coming out of California. Just talk about that competition and what inspires you to be the next West Coast racer.
Yeah, it's definitely a experience for sure. I thought racing the midgets back east was difficult until I got into a sprint car back home. You think, oh, you're just racing local. It's going to be, easy wins, easy top threes, but it's definitely very difficult in the sprint car world in California. You got Carson Macedo, you got all these guys, Cole Macedo, Rico Abreu, Kyle Larson comes down. It's just not an easy – you don't get an easy race every single weekend. You get tough competitors, and it's just a way to just push you every single weekend. And I'm so thankful that I'm in California and get to race at Tulare, Placerville, Hanford. It's just – they're crazy tracks, and they're very difficult to race at with all these different drivers. But, I'm extremely thankful for that.
Well, we really appreciate your time, Mariah, joining us on today's podcast, and we're going to be cheering you on and rooting for you for the rest of this racing season. But before we let you go, we usually do our DJD Gear Rapid Fire segment. We ask you 10 questions just to get to know you better and for our fans to get to know you better. So, Shaun, he's going to take it away.
Awesome.
All right, Mariah. What's your earliest memory at a racetrack?
Chowchilla Raceway, when I got in trouble for putting an old man in a wall.
When you're in Tulsa and you're at the Chili Bowl but away from the event, what's your favorite thing to do there?
Go on walks outside on trails.
What's your favorite racing movie?
Talladega Nights.
What's your favorite thing to do in Fresno, California?
Ooh, hang out with my family.
All right. What's your favorite sport that isn't racing?
Ooh, football. Definitely.
All right. A race car that you haven't tried yet that you really want to?
Modified.
And your favorite racetrack that you've raced at?
Sweet Springs, Missouri.
All right. So who are some of your racing heroes growing up?
Kyle Larson, Ryan Newman, Christopher Bell.
All right. And which racetrack has the best food?
Oh, I'd like to say Placerville, probably.
All right. And last one. If they made a movie about you, what would the theme song be?
Blanking. Any country music. I love country music. I listen to country music every single day. So if that's a theme for my life, that's what it is.
That's a good answer, because that's us too. All right, Mariah, we really appreciate you coming on. It was fun to watch you finally race in person. I hope I get to do it a little bit more later this year. So, yeah, congratulations on your schooling so far, and good luck with that. And we'll see you in 2025.
Awesome. Thank you.
After the Scales is proudly presented by DJD Graphics. From commercial and personal vehicles to racing bikes and cars of all makes, models, and disciplines, DJD Graphics can fully customize your vehicle to suit your needs. For more information, contact Darren and visit his website at www.djdgraphics.com. Tell him Sean and Jacob sent you to receive special rates.
So thanks again to Mariah for being on today's episode. We really appreciate it and wish her the best of luck. We wanted to conclude today's episode by talking about the last 3 nights Sean and I have been at Alltech Raceway in Lake City, Florida for the Lucas Dirt Series Winter Nationals. Very exciting race in all 3 nights. If you guys watched on Flow Racing or weren't there in person, RTJ won both first nights. And luckily, Sean and I were both happy to see one of our episode guests, Devin Moran. He's got his nice shirt on. Get the win last night. So, yeah, Sean, what were your thoughts? There was definitely a lot of good racing going on.
Yeah, so Thursday, Friday was the RTJ show, which I'm used to covering the Lucas Oil Late Model Series. And then last night was one of the best races I've ever seen in person, late models, sprint cars, whatever it was. So if you didn't see it, I encourage you to at least go on YouTube and check out the condensed version. Devin Moran gets the win, 6 lead changes over 50 laps. It was incredible. I think there was 4 lead changes in the first 12 laps or something like that. And then with 3 to go, there's 5 cars, the top 5 separated by just inches before RTJ got into the wall, and Devin Moran wins it with a green-white checkered. So my first trip down to Alltech, and the first couple nights where it was decent. The heat races were really good, and then we got treated last night. That was a spectacular show.
Yeah, I feel like on social media, Alltech was kind of trending online, kind of for the wrong reasons. But I feel like, especially after that last night's feature, that it was really good racing, even though we were there, past midnight, watching the late models rip around there. But overall, there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes with the track prep. I know we were witnesses to the track guy telling everybody that they can't watch the track prep and close the gate and all that. And, there was some drama behind the scenes, but you can't take away, the product out on the racetrack. A lot of drivers, up front were happy, and a lot of guys loaded up and left. We saw a couple guys, leave early, tear up some stuff. It's a shame because, it's just the start of the year for 2025, and so many guys have gone through 2 or 3 engines, or they're replacing all these panels. They got to go back to the shop and get some more stuff already. So it should be interesting to see some of the guys if they really stick on Lucas Dirt Tour, or they go over to Outlaws, or vice versa. So stay tuned for that. We got Ocala coming up, one of our local tracks down here in Florida. Really looking forward to it. Sean, what's your thoughts about Lucas coming over here this week?
Yeah, so it can be a little closer to your home anyway, so we don't have as far to travel. I'm really excited to see, we had a few drivers running up front that maybe you're not accustomed to seeing run up front all the time. Max Blair had a top 3 finish the first night. Dalton Wilson, 2 second place finishes in a row. Carson Ferguson went from 22nd to 8th. So great run for him. So will the cream rise to the top this week? Will we see Jonathan Davenport back in Victor Lane? Will we see Brandon Shepard kind of turn his weekend around? And can RTJ continue to do what he's been doing? So a lot of storylines. You're the late model guy, but early on it was really cool to see Turbo finishing 3rd coming out of the B main. So a lot of passing. It's been great racing, fantastic. How about you?
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I know you've been working with Spencer Hughes this week, which we got some of his merchandise back here. The JCM Motorsports guys are great to hang out with, and Amanda is a great person that's really taking us in and giving us some chances to really get this know Spencer Hughes a little bit more, because he has a tough personality, but once you get to know him, he's a great guy and he's a great racer, and he's gonna do really well this year in 2025. So. Make sure to support Spencer, and I know he's going to be one to watch for this week. But, like you mentioned, the top guys are still going to be up there every night, Devin Moran, RTJ. But one guy that really sticks out to me who's been really good this season so far is Garrett Alberson. He started out Wild West Shootout in his hometown in New Mexico, really, did well there. got a win, and then carried that over to Volusia. Watched him, get that win at Volusia, and he's been contending every single night at All-Tech, and I feel like that's going to carry over to Ocala. Also, look for younger guys like Drake Troutman to really turn things around. I know he's trying to get used to the GR Smith racing car, but I think Scotty and all the boys over there are gonna hope to keep the car inside the racetrack at Ocala, because luckily there's a fence all the way around.
Yeah, so I've never been to Ocala. You've been several times. What are we maybe looking at?
Yeah, so the track is really unique. It's a lot smaller than All-Tech. It's more of a D egg shape. Going into 1 and 2 is really wide. They only use a little bit part of the bottom of the racetrack. It never gets higher up towards the wall. And then it really condenses down going into 3 and 4. Makes it really tough because you can be good in 1 and 2 and then suck in 3 and 4, and you're not putting down the laps you need to. So you really need to set up your car to be good in both ends of the track. I've seen a lot of guys get torn up, coming out of 4, getting the car too wide and getting their fenders all bent up. So should be really exciting. I think there'll be a lot even more close racing just because it's a smaller track, and should be exciting because a lot of drivers and fans are going to be in attendance, because All-Tech was a little bit rough, but Saturday night was a good turnout.
Yeah. And I guess before we close this episode, we would be remiss if we didn't mention Justin Peck sweeping Volusia in the 360s. I know I, for one, went out on a limb and said that he was going to have a monster year this year. And so far, he's making me look like a genius. So I hope he can keep that up. Great to see the Rudine guys back in victory lane a bunch. They're going to be tough, man. It's no fluke. They were really quick at Charlotte. They're off to a hot start. So I know it's just the 360s and there's no points involved or anything for high limit, but the momentum is definitely going to be on their side, and we'll see if they can keep that going when high limit starts in March.
Yeah, no, it's been killing us that the World Outlaws are coming here to Volusia this week, and we got obligations for the late models, but I'm sure we'll be tuned in, watching, seeing what's going on with the Outlaws, and a lot of guys that are racing high limit or true outlaw schedules as well are going to be there. So stay tuned for that. Hope your guys' favorite driver puts it in a victory lane, like Justin Peck, or Justin Peck might just win every single race from here on out. Who knows? But we really appreciate everyone for tuning in on today's podcast, and we really appreciate Mariah for taking time, and we wish her the best of luck this year. And thank you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next one.